Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and here we're checking out Bill Wurtz's History of Japan. We just saw his History of the World, and frankly, that was so cool. I want to do it again, so we're going to. I don't know nearly as much about the Japanese history as opposed to the general world history, which is weird now that I think about it. But more important, we're going to find out, so you guys know the deal. Link below video. Hit it up. Let's get started. History
Japan is an island by the sea filled with volcanoes, and it's...
Yeah.
In the year negative -1 billion, Japan might not have been here. In the year
Oh,
negative
because it's an
40,000,
island
it
based
was
on
here, and you could
volcano
walk to
activity.
it, and some people walk to it.
Land bridge. Oh!
Then it got warmer, some icebergs melted, it became an island, and now there's lots of trees.
Actually, this is kind of fascinating because I know about a lot of land bridges. I didn't realize this is how this one happened. For some reason, I always thought it would be through here and more ice flows, but I guess it was more of a land bridge that just either degraded, was dredged later because I don't know anything about this area, or was just destroyed for some reason. Subsumed by water is always an option.
Now there's lots of trees, because it's warmer.
Yeah.
So now there's people on the island. They're basically sort of hanging out in between the mountains, eating nuts off trees, and using the latest technology, like stones and bowls. Ding dong.
My God, I think we might even use bowls now. But who would ever use a stone? Like, that'd be like getting stoned or something. Who would do that?
It's the outside world, and they have technology from the future, like really good metal
Age.
and crazy rice.
Wait, seriously, wait. That's what Bronze Age architecture, or, whoa. I know of the Bronze Age. I haven't really focused on it as much, but I'm always fascinated with its collapse and some of the things surrounding it. I didn't no, this is the level of detail they got into on that. That's actually really cool. I need to go to a museum again.
And crazy rice farms.
Yep.
Now you can make a lot of rice really, really quickly. That means if you own the farm, you own a lot of food, which is something everybody needs to survive. So that makes you king. Rice farming and rice kingdoms spread across the land all the way to
Rice
here.
kingdoms
The most important
explicitly.
kingdoms were here, and here. But this
Oh, I actually recognize some of those.
one was the most important, ruled by a heavenly superperson, or emperor for short. Knock knock, get the door, it's religion. The new prince wants everyone to try this hot new religion from Biek. Please try this religion, he said. No, said everybody. Try it, he said. No, said everybody again, quieter this time. And so the religion was put into place, and all the rules that came with it. Then the government was taken over by another clique, and they made some reforms, like making the government govern more, and making the government more like China's government, which is a government that governs more. Hi, China.
I don't know anything about China's government at this time period, mostly because even though he covered a good bit of it, and I do know the history, if I need to actually say when the Tang Dynasty happened, or which dynasties, or what eras, or what time periods it was, I'm not going to get that. You give me words and events? Sure. Give me numbers? No, please no.
They said, hi, dipshit, said China.
Dwarf.
Can you call us something else other than dipshit, said Japan. Like what, said China. How
Did
about...
they actually call them Haiwa? They literally called them dwarves. Oh, wow. That is rather insulting.
Shit, said China. Can you call us something else other than
Dipshit actually sounds
said
less
Japan.
insulting.
Like what, said China. How about Sunrise Land, said Japan.
Nihon.
And they stole China's alphabet and wrote a book about themselves. And then they...
Wait, ancient. The records of ancient matters. Oh, and that's where they started calling themselves the land of the rising sun. Okay.
Wrote a book about themselves. And then they made lots of poetry and art and another book about themselves.
Whoa.
Then they stopped moving the capital every time the emperor died and kept it in
Didn't they just start moving it for other reasons? Because I know it's in Tokyo now.
one place for a while, right here. And they conquered the north finally.
Period.
Get that squared away.
Oh,
Rich
that actually wasn't
hipster named
conquered till then.
Kukai is bored with modern Buddhism, visits China, and learns a better version, which is more spiritual. Comes back, reinvents the alphabet, and causes art and literature.
Wait. Oh, wait. So that's katakana. I know about this one because it's a simplified version. I didn't. So this actually came in during this period. For some reason, I always thought that was the original version and the more complicated one, because they took it from China. So they would have had what's based on theirs, which is a very complicated character form. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Alphabet and causes art and literature to be great for a long time.
Because
and
it's
the
easier
royal
to do.
palace turned into such a dream world of art that they really didn't give a shit about running the country. So if you live outside the palace, how are you supposed
People obsessed with doing nice things for themselves who lose track of their own country, and then I'm assuming something horrible happens, there's a revolt. There's probably a lot of things that come to mind for this one. I'm just going to immediately going the French. Yeah, so they predid the French Revolution. Neat. Why did it turn
to
out?
protect your shit from criminals? Hire
My
a
God.
samurai. Everyone started hiring samurai. Rich, important people hired samurai. Poor
Yeah.
people who could not afford to hire samurai did not hire samurai.
Which is why the story of the samurai, or the Seven Samurai, I'm used to the anime version, which had the name switched around, was a story as opposed to real life because no one could afford that shit.
The samurai became organized and powerful, more powerful than the government, so they made their own military government. Here,
The
they
shogunate.
let the emperor still be emperor, but the shogun is actually in control. Breaking news, the Mongols have invaded China.
We've invaded
Can they
China.
make
Said
it to
the
Japan?
Mongols.
Please respect us, or else we might invade you as well.
Okay, said Japan. So the Mongols came over, ready for war, and died in a tornado. But they
Oh.
tried again and had a nice time fighting with the Japanese, but then died in a tornado. Then the emperor
Wait, so it was actually kind of like what happened in Europe when the Spanish tried to invade England and they just ran into bad weather and destroyed them. And by bad weather, I realized it was a massive storm and destroyed most of the ships. So when they arrived, it wasn't nearly doable. Huh. I wonder if that's happened multiple times beyond just here. Because I thought the one time was kind of weird. The second time is, did people just not plan for bad weather? Or do they think the bad weather would cover them and do that anyways?
overthrows the shogunate. Then the shogunate overthrows him back and moves to Kyoto and makes a new shogunate. And the emperor can still
Oh.
dress like an emperor if he wants. That's fine.
Wait, what was that called? The Asha what?
Shogunate overthrows him back and moves to Kyoto and makes a new
Ashikaga shogunate. For some reason, I feel I've heard this word before, but I don't know where.
shogunate. And the emperor can still dress like an emperor if he wants. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like painting with less colors, collaborative
Ooh.
poetry, plays, monkey fun, tea parties, gardening, architecture, flowers, it's
Oh, wait. So I'm gonna
colors,
be-
collaborative poetry,
just geeking
plays,
out on this one?
monkey fun,
Okay, one, monkey fun. I'm not going to look back on. Tea parties.
tea parties,
Hmm,
gardening,
This is the time period where this stuff came from. Sorry, Japanese gardens, whenever you can find them, are always some of the most beautiful things I could see. Because, frankly, anything that makes it over to America or North America has so much time and effort put into it that they're absolutely beautiful. And this is the period where that became a style. Oh, that's actually really neat.
architecture, flowers. It's time for who's going to be the next shogun. Usually it's the shogun's
can
kid,
do it?
but the shogun doesn't have a kid. So
Oh.
he tries to get his brother to quit being a monk and be the next shogun. He says okay, but then the shogun has a kid. So now who's it going to be? Vote now on your phone.
I'm assuming some third party came in and killed them both.
And everyone voted so hard that the palace caught on fire and burned down.
Damn.
The shogun actually didn't care. He was off somewhere doing poetry.
Yeah.
And the whole country broke into pieces. Everyone is fighting with each other.
Wait, which was a what? So we got Amaga Yamayoshi. Oh, I don't even recognize some of these names. Like some of them I do know the names of, but just because I've seen them in other formats. I guess they just called themselves here. And it's not the names they came with later, it looks like. So I wonder how much of this carried over. 1482.
Everyone is fighting with each other for local power, and it's anybody's game. Knock knock, it's Europe. No, they're not here to take over. They just want to sell some
Jet.
shit, like clocks and guns and Jesus. So that's cool.
Oh,
but everyone's
this is
still
the
fighting
period
each
it came
other for
from.
control.
Okay.
Now with guns. And wouldn't it be nice to control the capital, which right now is puppets with no one controlling them?
Oh,
This clan is ready to make
wait. Puppets with no one controlling them. So they were a puppet government who didn't have a puppet master? That's weird. Or was the person in charge so incredibly weak that they were functionally, by all rights, not actually a puppet government? Honestly, I'm hoping someone in the chat knows more. Wow, I've been streaming so much, I actually just call it chat. Someone in the comment section down below would know more about this time period.
a run for it. But first, they have to trample this smaller clan, which is in the way. Surprise, the
Oda.
smaller clan wins. And the leader of that clan steals the idea of invading
Nobunaga?
the capital and invades the capital.
Yep.
And it goes very
Okay, even I know about this guy in modern, or not, this guy is modern history at this point? I mean, by comparison to the last video I saw from Bill Wurtz, it technically would by a couple billion years. Sure, why not?
well. He's about halfway through conquering Japan when someone who works for him kills him, and then
Dead.
someone else who works for him kills them, and that guy finishes conquering Japan.
Oh.
And then he confiscated everybody's swords and made some rules. And now
Wait, what did that say? No having a sword or a gun. No climbing the social ladder. Pay taxes. Wait, they didn't actually have a rule about paying taxes prior to this? I mean, assuming a lot of people just didn't. And no climbing the social ladder. So, essentially, a caste system is introduced beyond, or fixing the caste system as opposed to a more loose one.
and now I'm going to invade Korea and then hopefully China, he said, and failed, and also died. But before he died, he told these 5 guys to take care of his 5-year-old son until he's old.
Wait, what? They all look very wide. I wonder why that is. It's probably a style thing, but I don't know why. Tokugawa Ieyasu. I think I've heard of some of these names.
5-year-old son until he's old enough to be the next ruler of Japan. And the 5 guys said, yeah, right, it's not going to be this kid. It's going to be one of us, because we're grown-ups. And it's probably going to be this guy, who happens to be way more rich and powerful than the others. A lot of people support him, but a lot of people support not supporting him. They have a fight, and he wins, and
Oh.
starts a new government, right here. And he
Do you have a
still lets
period?
the emperor dress like an emperor, and have very nice things. But
because there's a religious implication that he's the son of God at this point. I wonder if that's the continuing thing here, or there was some other realpolitik pulled off. The realpolitik is probably, if people believe it, you don't want to piss off the people who would support you religiously if you have this guy working for you. All I have to do is just pay him some random trinkets.
But don't get confused. This is the new government, and they are very strict. So strict they closed the country. No one can leave, and no one can come in.
Oh, so he's
Except
the one
for
who
the
started
Dutch,
that.
if they want to buy and sell shit, but they have to do it right here. Now that the entire country was not at war with itself, the population increased a lot. Business increased, schools were built, roads were built, everyone learned to read, books were published, there was poetry, plays, sexy times, puppet shows, and Dutch study.
I mean, even I know a bit about what he's talking there for the sexy time. Let's just put it this way. There are things that were produced in this time period that, when I worked at an art museum, could not be shown still. Because you would have people come up and it's like, hey, why are they? And then they would describe what they're seeing, and then you have to explain to a 5-year-old that this is 500-year-old smut. It's very awkward. It's not done so the kid doesn't see it. It's done so you don't have to explain it to them because they don't know what they're talking about. It's not in English. They can barely read as it is. But then you have to sit there and explain, and it's so freaking awkward, man. The few times they brought it up, it was very awkward, and you just walk away, man. It's not worth it.
People started to study European science from books they bought from the Dutch. We're talking geography, skeletons, physics.
And that would be why there's so much, I guess, what's the equivalent of a weeaboo for the Dutch in the Japanese society still? Because they probably brought over a lot of the basic materials. Or the early reading materials of different things, so it probably became a cultural touchstone. Huh.
Chemistry, astronomy, and maybe even electricity. Over time, the economic and cultural prosperity began to gradually slow down. Knock, knock. It's the United States. With huge boats, with guns. Gunboats.
America with guns and boats and doing something militaristic. This doesn't seem familiar at all.
Open the country. Stop having it be closed, said the United States. There's really nothing they could do, so they signed a contract that lets the United States, Britain, and Russia visit Japan anytime they want. Choshu and Satsuma hated this. That sucks, they said. This sucks. And with almost very little outside help, they overthrew the shogunate. And
oh, because Britain was pulling Britain things. Yeah.
Somehow made the emperor again, and moved him to Edo, which they renamed Eastern Capital. They made a new government, which was a lot more Western. They made a new constitution that was pretty Western, and a military that was pretty Western. And do you know what else?
Large? What'd that say? It was so fast, I actually missed it. Wait, there was a Meiji? This would be the Meiji Restoration. Okay, I actually know a bit about this, if only because of the anime Rurouni Kenshin, which admittedly doesn't cover anything political, just the fact that it exists. Huh. Direct administrative control, implied controls. Oh. So there's an implied... They actually wrote out an implied moral control. Oh. An implied control of advisors, which either have absolutely no control because you ignore them, or every control because you listen to them religiously, and it could go either way. But that's also why they literally have it codified as implied. Sorry, this is actually fascinating to me, how they structure things on explicit and implied aspects. That's so cool.
And a military that was pretty Western.
Large.
And do you know what else is Western? That's right, it's conquering stuff. So
Yeah.
what can they conquer? Korea. They conquer Korea, taking it from its previous owner, China.
1, didn't know China owned Korea at that point. 2, I do not know how much of what happens at this time period he's going to talk about, because I know Japanese imperialism had some issues, and I'm not sure how much I'm even able to say on YouTube. But goddamn, it was not a new thing.
And then go a little bit further, and Russia rushes in out of nowhere and says, "Stop, no, you can't take that. We were going to build a railroad through here to try to get some warm water." And Russia builds their railroad, supervised by a shit ton of soldiers. And then when the railroad was done, they downgraded to a fuck ton. Did I say downgrade? I meant upgrade. And Japan says, "Can you maybe chill?" And
Russia, chill. That's funny. No.
Russia says, "How about maybe you chill?" Japan is kind of scared of Russia. You'll never guess who's also kind of scared of Russia. Great Britain. So Japan and Great Britain make an alliance together so they can be a little less scared of Russia.
Oh.
Feeling confident, Japan goes to war against Russia, just for a moment, and then they both get tired and stop.
Sino-Japanese war.
Time for World War I. The world is about to have a war.
Yep.
Because it's the 1900s and weapons are getting crazy, and all these empires
Dude, I think that was an old-fashioned grenade, one of the biplanes.
are excited to try them out on each other. Meanwhile,
Yeah, also, just random thing that I do know about, because this is not just Japanese history, so I know a bit about it. When he says they're excited to try them out on each other, that's not a joke. Legitimately, you could find advertisements and recordings of people talking about how they're so excited to see the next conclusion, to see which nation is the best, because our nation is the most sturdy, and we can do it, and then you can bring the family to see us on the battlefield as we take the honorable fight and show theirs. Insert other nation here, rapscallions, the business. It's the weirdest thing where you could sound like you're the most insulting prick ever without swearing, and yet also be the most degrading to have to say those words yourself. Yeah, that was a common thing. So the idea like, they're excited to use these inventions is accurate. There's the general thought that war is a good old-fashioned fun time that no one actually gets hurt in. You might take a bullet wound, it'll pass through you and you'll be fine. It's like getting a needle through you. I mean, I would freak out with both, but that doesn't really matter because most people don't think they would. Yeah, that was a thing.
Meanwhile, Japan has been enjoying conquering stuff and wants more. And the next thing on their list is this part of China and lots of tiny islands. All that stuff belongs to Germany, which just had war declared on
Germany,
Britain
really?
because Britain was friends with Belgium, which was being trespassed by Germany in order to get to France to kick France's ass because France is friends with Russia, who was getting ready to kick Austria's ass because Austria was getting ready to kick Serbia's ass because someone from Serbia shot the leader of Austria's ass.
And the crazy part is, this is actually just working backwards from it. It's just a series of chain reactions that ended up with Germany being attacked because they were friends with this. And this is also, sadly, the most coherent way I've ever seen someone describe the beginning of World War I. It's a series of alliances and interests that kind of concede with each other, but also just happen to coincide. It's like, oh yes, we're friends, we help you. Also, we kind of want to take this other thing the guy on the other side has, so yeah. There's a reason why when most people talk about World War I, they just say it was the assassination of Franz Ferdinand that started the war. Because technically, yes, but also functionally, there was a lot more to it. It's a very complicated web of excuses people made because they wanted to see what they could get, because they thought they would easily win and it wouldn't be that bad. The first time, the second time, the time after that, the time after that, the time after that. I can keep going.
Or actually shot him in the head. And Britain is currently friends with Japan, so you know what that means. Duh, Japan should take the islands. Which they wanted to do anyway, so they called Britain on the telly to sort of let them know. And then they did it. And they also helped Britain a little here and there with some errands and stuff.
Yeah.
Now the war is over, and congratulations, Japan. You technically fought in the war, which means you get to sit at the negotiating table with the big dudes, where they decided who owns what.
They actually were there? This part I did not know about in the slightest.
And yes, Japan gets to keep all that shit they stole from Germany. You also get to join the post-war mega alliance, the League of Nations, whose mission
was to fall apart and be absolutely useless? Somehow even more useless than the current United Nations? Yeah.
statement is to try not to take over the world. The Great Depression is bad, and Japan's economy is now crappy, but the military is doing just fine, and it invades Manchuria. In the League of Nations, it's like, no, don't do that. If you're in the League of Nations, you're not supposed to take over the world. And Japan said, how about I do anyway? And Japan invaded more and more and more and more of China.
Here it goes.
To invade the entire East.
You've got mail.
It's from Germany, the new leader of Germany. He has a cool mustache, and he's trying to take over the world and needs friends. This also got...
Just going to throw it out there. I know this is probably an old one, but it does look like a small broom. I can't unsee it. It's in my head after someone mentioned it. Now I just can't. To Fumimaru Kane. Friendship. I am interested to take over the world, and I was wondering if you could be my friend. Oh my god.
Forwarded to Italy. They all decided to be friends because they had so much in common. It's time
taking over the world.
Germany is invading the neighbors. Then they invade the neighbors' neighbors. Then the neighbors' neighbors' neighbors, who happened to be Britain, said, holy shit. And the United States started helping Britain because they are good friends and started not helping.
Technically, we did sell arms to both sides, so not helping came later.
Japan because they're friends and our friends are not friends. Plus they're planning on... Honestly, I don't think we sold anything to Japan, but we did still sell to the other side for quite a while. Invading the entire ocean. The United States is also working on a large, very huge bomb, bigger than any other bomb ever. Just in case.
Until the other ones were.
But they still haven't joined the war. War looks bad on TV, and the United States is really starting to care about their image. But then Japan spits on them in Hawaii and challenges them to war. And they say...
So, funny thing about this, I do know a bit of information about this, and it is sadly confirmed. There were bits of intelligence floating around that Pearl Harbor was about to be attacked. Rather than having a priority carrier, they thought it would be faster to send it, or thought it would be faster to send it on a slower, not a telegram, actual letterhead. Essentially, instead of getting there at the speed of a telegram, which admittedly, I have no idea how fast that is, it would have arrived not soon enough. The official reason is because they thought maybe it would be intercepted or somehow the information would leak and that would be more compromising, or that it was a mistake and it wasn't supposed to happen that way. The sort of conspiracy theory that is also backed up by FDR saying that he was looking for a reason to be involved in World War II, on the record, in books, in his memoirs. The theory is that he put out some orders that, maybe we should leave a reasoning for us to get into the war, kind of like the Lusitania in World War I, which is a ship that was bombed and definitely wasn't accidentally attributed to the wrong party, because as far as I know, it actually wasn't, but also it's so long ago you can't really verify that at this point. So this kind of happened because they knew, and it just so happened to coincide with the entire Navy mostly being outside of Pearl Harbor on that day. So none of the ships they needed were actually hit. Yeah. Japan still did it on their own right to attack. America just happened to have everything that was a target of the attack that would have crippled their Navy not there. Yeah. You can look this shit up in their own approved autobiographies. Funny.
Say yes, and then Germany, as a symbol of friendship, declares war on the United States also. So the United States goes to war in Europe, and they help the gang chase Germany back into Germany, and they also start chasing Japan back into Japan. And they haven't used the bomb yet, and are curious to see if it works, so they drop it on Japan.
Boom. Hiroshima?
They actually
Some
got
others?
two.
So he's skipping over the firebombing. Granted, he's also skipping over a lot of the atrocities on both sides, so that's probably a good thing, and the bomb is the one that makes the biggest headlines, so it makes sense to have this here in Japanese history. Although theoretically, the firebombing of Kyoto would be absolutely devastating. Destroyed a lot, killed more people, but it's not a single bomb. It's a campaign over a long period of time with multiple raids. So it probably doesn't have the same cultural effect. It's horrible, but it's not what the fuck just happened inducing. It's, oh, that's the fuck that just happened. Yeah. Dude, resounding silence.
The United States installed a new government, inspired by the United States government, with just the right ingredients for a post.
Is that the second time then they've done this? No, it was Britain doing it before. With America. No. It was America doing it the last time as well.
And Japan starts making TVs, VCRs, automobiles, and camcorders as fast as they can, and also better than everybody else. They get rich, and the economy goes wild, and then the miracle wears off. But everything's...
Hey, yeah, Mario. Also, fun thing about this, just because I'm actually aware of the economic situation here, a lot of the things and the massive change here become so integrated that because Japan has a society with very high life expectancy, the people who were running it here are still doing it. And because it's what happened when they were taking off, they assume it's still the best. So there's a reason, a small bit of the cultural zeitgeist that basically says, hey, we're going to keep doing this. So you still have fax machines. You still have a lot of technology that is outdated. And there's a lot of, admittedly, still some interesting devices that are not used anywhere else. Not better or worse, just very different because of it. I mean, some of them are worse. I'm looking at you, fax machines. I have a personal vengeance for anyone who actually thinks you're a viable usage of time. I don't like those things. For very valid reasons, I'm going to stick to that. So it's kind of funny how you can see the exact time period, a lot of the technological progression on the more innovative, in-your-face aspects died away at this point where the recession started to hit. That said, on more software side, the more technological, less in-your-face side, that progression's still really intense. And you can see it in a lot of places, such as, well, Sony. That's the one that comes off my head. The others would be like more car companies like Toyota, just because they've had some crazy advances, but they're not nearly as blatant. Whoa, this is so crazy in the future. It's less blatant, but it's also still there.
But everything's still pretty cool,
Hey, anime, nice.
guess.
I'm a little disappointed that there's no more Bill Wurtz did about this. I actually wish he went more into detail of the current situation, but with how much he's simplifying everything and then compressing it down to a much smaller size, it makes sense why there's not. That said, if there's anyone else I should check out who might go into more individual economic aspects, one, I probably would just watch that on my own time because I find that stuff fascinating, but I have no idea if that would actually make for a good video. I would absolutely love it though and completely geek out over it. There's a lot of channels I do that for. For example, Simon Whistler. Other than the one time where I'm going to probably set up a comparative live stream where I'm going to go from the Overly Sarcastic Productions coverage of the collapse of the Bronze Age and then Simon Whistler's version as well, because both of them have done that. I really think that's going to be fascinating. Is it going to be a good video? Don't care. I'm going to do it anyways because it sounds fun. But this, as it is, it's really cool because I have some idea of what's going on here. I have some cultural awareness, just again, mostly from anime that obsesses over certain time periods. So some names come up, and they come up frequently enough. You can kind of assume that even with all the other BS put in there for a dramatic purpose, certain facts would still be accurate because they keep getting used multiple times, which is a way to verify facts that you aren't sure of. Do they get used by fictional sources, but described similarly in multiple sources? You can make some draws from that. Now, you don't know for sure if they're accurate, but that is a way to do it. It could also be very, very wrong because I don't see any giant robots in the Sengoku period, because there are anime that do that, but I'd be disappointed if they weren't real. That's why I never make a point to find out if they're not. I'm just going to assume they are until anyone says otherwise, and I will never look at anyone saying otherwise because I want to believe this. Thank you. All joking aside, I like this. I like how he's getting into it, and I wish he had done more just general little bits of history like this. But I've been told that his exact phrase was, fuck no, this nearly drove me crazy. I'm not doing this shit again. And then went on to do more general music stuff, and yeah, that's pretty cool. He's still going. He doesn't have that many videos, but he's still going. There was a video, I think, was it a month or a year ago? There's a good bit of distance there, so it could go either way. All the same. Thanks for watching this, guys, and if you know what I should check out next, let me know, because I only saw this as recommendations, and I finally got around to it, and it was awesome. So if there's something else like this I should check out, hit me up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.